But anyways, Audrey would love for you to take the floor now. Go ahead, introduce yourself, anything that I didn't cover in your background. We'd love to get to know you better before we start our conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me and would love to, whoever's here today, would be great to hear kind of your name, your age, where you're zooming in from, so we can make sure to tailor this discussion to be most helpful for everyone here. So hope to hear from all of you guys joining us today. But I'm Audrey Wisch. I'm calling from our office in San Francisco. And as you shared, I started Curious Cardinals when I was a student at Stanford. I was a history major who thought I was pre-law with my 10-year life plan set and aspirations to be the next Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And then the pandemic hit and Stanford sent us home, and longing for connection and purpose, I started tutoring kids online, and working with those students observed they were disengaged and uninspired with what they were learning in school. They were absorbing and regurgitating what they read in textbooks, but didn't know why any of it really mattered. So that inspired me to apply what they were learning in school to their interests, the world around them, in hopes of making their learning feel like it actually mattered. One of them asked for math help. I was not as passionate about math, so I called Alec. He was an aerospace engineer at Stanford who loved math. And instead of drilling math equations, Alex showed them how math makes airplanes fly. And suddenly the student wasn't just learning math, he felt genuinely connected to it. And that's when we realized this is how K through 12 education should work. And it started as a pandemic passion project and took off. Alec, the aerospace engineer, became my co-founder. My peers at college told their friends and became mentors. Parents told parents, and Curious Cardinals was born. It's 5 years later. We've since raised 7 million in venture capital funding. We now have a full-time team of 12 people in San Francisco, and we're working with thousands of students around the world. And we believe K through 12 education has lost the plot. And our goal is to help inspire a love of learning in students by helping them find their North Star and teaching them the timeless skills in this AI era, all through personalized mentorship and amplified by AI and technology to do this at scale. So that's a little bit about me and my journey. And while it started 5 years ago, it feels like it just began, and excited for our discussion today. And so nice to hear where people are zooming in from in the chat.
Thank you so much for sharing. Well, Audrey, you've had an incredible journey, but it started with your decision to pause your studies at Stanford to pursue Curious Cardinals full time. What do you think gave you the confidence to take that leap when maybe a lot of people in your circles told you it's better to just play it safe?
Yeah. Well, what gave me the confidence to take that leap? I'd say it starts with the fact that there was a pandemic. And in the pandemic, a lot of people were really upset. I mean, our education was put on hold. We were sent home from college. What year were you when the pandemic happened?
I graduated high school the year of the pandemic, so
Okay.
COVID hit my first year of undergrad.
Okay. So everyone was upset. Everyone was in disarray. And I think in that moment, what really the thing for me was, how can I make the most of this time? How can I make the most out of this opportunity? And I couldn't continue with my extracurriculars at Stanford, so I had to do something else. And so I think like the first lesson is when things are out of your control, when you lack agency over a situation and it goes awry, make lemon out of lemonades, make lemonade out of lemons, make the most out of any situation and find the silver lining. Because if it weren't for the pandemic, this all wouldn't have started. Yet the pandemic came with so much tragedy and devastation and curving off our paths. And then the second thing, I think the first year we got enormous traction. And so I wouldn't have had the confidence to leave Stanford if we didn't have that validation that this is working, this is actually providing value, this is serving families, and K through 12 education will never be the same. And so I'd also say taking a leap of faith, taking a risk, do it in a data-driven, substantiated way. And so I'd say those are kind of the two core lessons is one, like in anything, any moment where something goes wrong, you don't get the job, you get a delay at your start at McKinsey, you have to take a year off of school because of the pandemic, you get a concussion, whatever it is, what's the silver lining you can find in the situation? And the second is honestly have traction, have validation. We wouldn't have been able to raise venture capital funding if we didn't have $750,000 in revenue that we generated, just the two of us, while doing Stanford online. And so I think the traction and the validation and the conviction in the space is the other thing that gave us conviction to take this big risk.
Do you feel at all as a woman and also a young founder, like, can you speak to maybe some of the unique challenges you feel like you faced that other entrepreneurs maybe didn't? And How did you sort of maybe overcome skepticism that was raised from your background as a result?
Totally, that's a great question. So I would say that I'm a woman and I'm really young. And so when people see me, they don't see founder CEO. And when I started Curious Cardinals, it was in the pandemic on Zoom. So everyone was able to Google me or know my profile or background when I got on a Zoom call with them. And I remember my first conference in person, and I was pitching as one of the top 20 finalists at this pitch competition. And it started with, I was with one of my team members, and the person wasn't, they were talking to someone, and person they were talking to didn't look at me, didn't look very interested. And they were talking about how much they love Curious Cardinals, what I was building. And then my team member goes, "This is our CEO and founder, Audrey." And then suddenly they looked at me and talked to me like I was the most important person in the room. And I realized they did not think I was the founder and CEO. And then later for the pitch competition, everyone and we had kind of a like pre-pitch cocktail hour and was going around and asking all the pitchers, the finalists, what was their company, and they didn't ask me. And I was shocked. I was like, they must think I'm someone's assistant or working here. I'm too young. I'm too small. I'm a woman. And that was really jarring. And then I realized I'm never going to let that happen to me again. People are going to see me and think what they might and have subconscious biases and not assume that I'm the founder, CEO, or a woman in power. And I have to tell them who I am. I'm never going to let them gloss over me. Next time I'm going to say, and I'm Audrey. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Curious Cardinals. I'm also one of the 20 finalists. And so I would say that's the big thing I learned is that people don't see me as in the position of authority and influence that I am in. And that comes with biases or questioning me, or I've had many people explain to me how venture capital funding works. And then I get to tell them that I've raised 7 million in venture capital funding. Thank you so much for educating me. But I think it's again not taking it personally. It's not something to take personally and just tell them, let them know who you are.
How did you kind of develop skills to advocate for yourself through the process? Or a lot of times, we think about imposter syndrome and we're like, even I'm sure all this time, and are there still times that you feel imposter syndrome? Or how do you sort of navigate those situations?
Yeah, that's also a great question. I would say that it starts with, I think the fact that what I'm doing, I love so much and I believe in so much. And I've seen work even at the micro scale that started at that first year gives me the confidence that what we're doing is right and what we're doing is making a positive impact in the world. And that everyone's different. That matters deeply for me. It matters deeply to know is what I'm doing making the world a better place in some way. And I would say that that helps me in moments of doubting myself, of just kind of rooting it in what am I doing and the goodness of what we're doing every day. And then I think just work ethic. Like people might be smarter than you, people might be more knowledgeable than you, people might be more connected than you, people might be better engineers than you, but you can work the hardest. You can read the most, listen to the most podcasts, find the most mentors, ask the most questions, invest in your growth and development. And so I think it's what do you have agency over? And work ethic is unparalleled. And so I think when I'm feeling doubt or insecurity, it's really trying to channel that into action of I can soak in these feelings or I can go in and put the work. I can listen to the podcast. I can go on the run. That's good for my health and sanity. I can send the email. I can reflect on in my work journal what's going on. And so I think trying to channel those feelings into action and then ground like those feelings as well into the validity of what we're doing today is really powerful for me.
When it comes to just getting started, like we have many young women here who have great ideas or have something they want to build or maybe like opportunities they want to access. But oftentimes, just the process of getting started can just feel so overwhelming, or they might not feel they have the right access to capital or networks or role models. How did you get started from turning an idea or like a tutoring gig into something real and tangible?
Start somewhere, start small, have traction. I started by tutoring girls myself and then connecting my friend. And then when Venmo didn't accept as many payments as we were processing, we had to move to a different system. Start small and get traction. I see so many people never do anything at all because they're so caught up in the big idea, but every big idea started somewhere. Amazon started selling textbooks. And so if I didn't start this by just tutoring kids myself, now we call it mentoring, or connecting my friends myself, like those were the mechanics that nailed the foundation for us to be able to substantiate this into something much bigger. And so I would say, ask yourself, what is the most stripped down, simplest form of this that I can get off the ground next week and start somewhere? And ask, who are you serving? What problem are you solving in the world? And do something and say, did I ask that person, did I help solve that problem? Did I make a little ounce of impact today? You have to start somewhere. And I think, again, so many people just get so caught up in the big, audacious goal that they never start anywhere at all.
And through Curious Cardinals, I mean, you've made tremendous impact, and I feel like the mission really goes along with unlocking the potential of students everywhere. But how do you feel like maybe it unlocked your potential? Or, if I were to like flip it over to you, what do you think you learned about your own purpose while building it?
Yeah, I feel so lucky building Curious Cardinals because our mission is helping people find their North Star. And so I have to constantly reconcile with my North Star and how what I'm doing today is helping me achieve that greater goal and legacy I want to leave in the world one day. Um, I would say that it's really clear to me that I have to be doing work that I care about. And I have to be doing work that, like the litmus test for me when I'm building Curious Cardinals is am I scaling our impact? Are we growing the number of students and mentors we get to serve and work with every year? And am I growing personally and professionally? Am I continually being stretched and expanded and learning and growing as a leader and professional? And I feel so lucky that I've been able to say yes to those two questions every year the past 5 years. And that will, I think, continue to be my litmus test. Are we growing our impact and are we growing personally and learning constantly? And I think I've learned that you can bring any idea into the world. It takes a lot of hard work and a lot of effort and a lot of believing in yourself. But everything starts somewhere. And I think compounding effects, like it's amazing how much better you get in 5 years. I played a video last night of us for that actual pitch competition in like 2021. And my co-founder had to walk out of the room. He was like, I can't hear this. This is so cringeworthy. And you forget like week by week, month by month, how much you're growing. Maybe the numbers are growing and that's exciting, but it's really exciting to look back 5 years and say, oh my gosh, we are like completely different humans. Imagine where we're going to be and where our impact's going to be 5 years from now. So I think just like how much you're capable of when you are doing something you love that's doing good in the world and you're continually pushing yourself and applying yourself every day in and out, it compounds eventually.
When it comes to like even the last 5 years, I'm sure you faced a lot of pressure from investors or like pressure that you maybe put on your own self to grow Curious Cardinals. How do you feel like you've been able to balance that pressure of running the company while also staying true to the mission and the values that you care about most?
That's a great question. So for us, a really transformative book was Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game. It's really easy to be finite minded. That might mean I'm gonna study for this test to get an A on Friday's test instead of thinking, what's the actual sustainable way to learn this? So I learn it not just for Friday's test, but for life. And so it's very easy as Stanford dropout in the Bay Area to constantly saying, we're going to hit XYZ metrics to raise next round of funding. And we really decided to shift from we're going to hit XYZ metrics to build a great business, not for tomorrow, not for next month, but for life. And we love what we do so much. The idea of not doing it literally makes me cry that I want to build a sustainable business and I want to do something that hopefully, as I said, we can grow our impact and grow ourselves every single year. And that means having a sustainable long-term mindset. And I think that it's really hard, especially coming out of our education system, which rewards your performance on Friday's test or next month's ACT to get out of that. But I think it comes from kind of breaking down the wins and like really asking yourself the trade-offs of what would it take for me to get that like immediate win and why would that compromise our long-term vision? And sometimes the two actually are not contradictory and that's always the best. That's great. And so I think it's really important to be grounding yourself in where do you want to be 10 years from now and how are we on track to get there? And I think I reflect back on a period where it was just like, I'm going to work my ass off till we get to XYZ milestone. And then it's like, and then what? I was a runner. It's like you run the race, and then what? Like you need to be ready for next week's race. And so, like, really making sure you're doing work in a way where you're not like, I'm going to collapse at the finish line. You're like, I'm going to fall over and be exasperated and be really tired and need to take a day of rest, but then I'm going to be ready to get going next week because this is a marathon and I'm in it for life.
And you kind of mentioned like you found something you were passionate about. You can't imagine your life without this, but obviously, you mentioned you wanted to be Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or being an entrepreneur was never something you even envisioned for yourself. How did you decide that you wanted to sort of take that leap in terms of starting your own thing? Or and when did you realize that you were actually passionate about being an entrepreneur, building a product, leading a team, and being a leader in this space?
Yeah. So how did I go from aspiring Ruth Bader Ginsburg to Stanford dropout? Great question. It happened really organically. And the first year we founded Curious Cardinals, I remember having like an identity crisis, being like, am I doing the right thing? Is this the thing that's going to get me on path to law school and this whole 10-year life plan I have set? And I kept thinking like, why do I want to be the next Ruth Bader Ginsburg? And the reason was because I loved the idea of championing individual, representing an individual's case, and then bringing it to the Supreme Court and having systemic impact. I was like, I love people, I love individual connections, but I want to have an impact that affects millions. And I was like, at its core, what we're doing with Curious Cardinals is championing individuality. It's about the personalized match, but we're using technology, which never in a million years would Audrey have thought use technology to enable this to happen at scale. And so I realized like when I distilled at its core, like what my North Star was and why I wanted to do that path, I was actually fulfilling that at a much faster rate than I ever thought I'd be able to. I thought I had to go through law school and this and that to get there, and in a totally different form. And it took some time to get comfortable with. And the first courses I taught at Curious Cardinals were mass incarceration and criminal justice reform and gender inequality and all the things. And so that's so core to like who I am and I think about the world. Now I work with lawyers and I'd be not happy as a lawyer. It would drive me crazy. That's definitely not aligned with my skill sets. But I think what I did right was I had a very core sense of like, what's the impact in the world and why? And I always grappled with like, do I want to be a teacher for 20 kids and go really deep? Or do I want to be the president of the country and go far and wide? And so I always kind of grappled with the scope and magnitude of impact and what that might look like. And then I found this and I realized, wow, this is accomplishing what I wanted in such a different way than I ever imagined, but a way that feels really authentic to who I am and what drives me.
Beyond your conviction and your passion for your North Star, what else has enabled you to get to where you are? Are there mentors? What have you sort of been able to build within your own life to support getting you to where you currently are and where you want to be?
Yeah, outside of passion and North Star, what has gotten me to where I am? Um, one, my co-founder, two, my family, three, mentors, advisors, and four, doing the things that are kind of best for me. So my co-founder, do not build something alone. A lot of people do that. A lot of women do that actually. It's so hard to build something alone. It is the best thing in the world to have a partner who's in it with you, who's as obsessed as you, and who complements you. It's a really lonely journey, and it's lonely at the top. And I could not be more grateful for my co-founder. Two, I'm really lucky to have the best parents and to love my family. And they live in New York and I live in San Francisco, so I don't see them all the time. But having that support network, even though it was not easy for my mom at first when I left school early, it was really difficult for her. I know she loved me unconditionally, and I know they were proud of me and they were there for me. And so I feel really lucky to have parents I love and can turn to. And three, advisors, mentors. We are a mentorship business. I believe deeply in mentors. I have found mentors, advisors. When I find people who I can learn from, who champion us, who help move the company and our goals forward, I latch onto them, I give them equity, I get them involved. And I'm humble enough to know I don't have all the answers. And part of how we're going to win is surrounding ourselves with brilliant people who've done what we want to do. So I take that very seriously. And advisors and mentors, some of them I meet with once a month, some I meet every quarter, some I meet more often at certain periods in the business, but that's been invaluable and so essential. And so everyone needs a mentor, everyone needs a champion, whatever phase in your journey are, whether it's your manager or a friend or a family friend or someone you reach out to and build a relationship with, like having people in your corner and building relationships with them. I actually wrote a blog post on how to find a mentor. that I can share. And then four, I am not happy when I'm not exercising. Like I'm ADHD. I need to run in the morning. Got my 6 mile run in this morning. I need to run. I need to read and listen to podcasts. Even if it's 5 minutes before bed of reading or podcasting while I'm getting dressed in the morning, like I need to learn. And I remember the first year of Curious Cardinals, I was like, I haven't read a book all year, and I'm running an education company that's about sparking curiosity. That's so hypocritical. I need to make time to do the things that nourish my mind and body and help me be the happiest person. Does that mean I'm perfect with sleep? No. Does that mean I've been the most connected with my friends? No. Bless them. Thank you, the real ones who know that I'm grinding and working hard on this. So nothing's ever, you can't have everything at once ever. But I think there's certain things I need to do to be my best self. And that's been really essential to, like, again, the sustainability of this all.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing. In our last couple of minutes with you, wanted to close off with something a lot of the people in our audience and within our coder community have talked about, and especially coming from developing countries or countries with less access to resources, less access to opportunities, especially for women. They've sort of mentioned that oftentimes they're told their dreams are too big or they're not practical or that's not what women where we come from are supposed to do. Like that's not gonna happen for you. How do you recommend they sort of silence that noise and not only believe in themselves, but figure out who can help them get to where they want to go?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question. I think that one, it's finding people, and that's an amazing part about the internet. There's a lot of bad things about the internet, but the great thing is you can find people you look up to, you were inspired by, and follow them, follow their journey, hear their learnings, as well as reach out to them and build connections with them. So I think finding people who are share your aspirations, doing the things you want to do and building community. You are only as great as who you surround yourself with. So I think that's really important. And two, we live in this era where you can listen to any genius, any founder, any innovator on podcasts, online, pull from what they've said. Like we are living in this information era. I think take advantage of it and take advantage of all that you can learn and all that you can access and be a sponge for information. As I said, there's going to be people who are smarter than you, more connected than you, all the things, but like you can outwork people, you can outread people, you can out hustle. And I think put yourself out there, do the outreach, send the message, launch the post, like share the thing. Everything starts somewhere. And it can feel really demoralizing when you're not seeing signals, but the consistency does compound. So I would say those are the things. But of course, I live in San Francisco, so completely different environment to live in, and I want to make sure that that resonates in with this amazing community.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Audrey. We are so grateful to have you here today. Wanted to just end off with if you have just any last sort of closing remarks, advice, anything you feel like we didn't cover during our conversation that you'd want to leave off for these young women, usually in their 20s, in parts of Asia, Africa, different parts of the world, anything that you would like to share with them that I haven't given you the opportunity to so far. We'd love to
Yeah.
hear from you.
Is there anything else? I think just like it can be so hard. I know that people often just show the positives, but like there's so many hard nights, there's so much hard work. It can feel so lonely, it can feel so isolating. And I think just like the best thing you can have is optimism and belief and keep going at it. And then also like signals, like is what I'm doing serving one person today, making the world a better place in this one itty bitty way. And like, I think it's staying true to yourself and staying core to, is this something that drives me, motivates me, hustle and put yourself out there and work really hard. And then like look for signals, because of course you don't want to be doing something that isn't making any progress at all. And the signal can be small, but it is a signal. And yeah, I'm happy if there's any, if I can answer like any question, and I can put I post a lot on LinkedIn, leadership advice and parts of our journey. And I post stuff on Instagram and Substack, so I can share those in the thread. And if there's, I can answer, happy to answer a question if there's a question. before I wrap up.
Yeah, if you all have any questions and if you can think of anything in the next minute or so, we'd love to ask or hear from you all. And then Audrey, I can also go ahead and share your LinkedIn and Instagram and Substack with everyone so they
Let me get one more in the chat and I'll send.
yeah. Deepa says we would love to connect with you. It's a very inspiring journey.
Thank you. Well, if there aren't any questions, if there are, happy to answer. Otherwise, amazing work that you do, and so excited to cheer on everyone in this group. And the internet's great. Stay connected. And yeah, thanks for including me today. I hope this was helpful. I'm so
So
excited
much.
for all the amazing women in this beautiful community you're building.
We're so grateful to have you here today, and I think everyone took away a lot. And for people, it's like I know you're starting your day, but a lot of people, it's like 11 p.m. their time. So we have people from all over the world. Um, and I will share all of your information with everyone so they can follow you along and cheer you along as well. Good luck with everything you're building, and thank you so much again, Audrey, for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, and good luck, everyone. Have a great rest of your